up, guys? It's CJ, and we are here to talk about the season 5 reunion of Real Housewives of Potomac. Now, this was episode 20, and this reunion kind of started out the way any other reunion starts. They're getting ready. They show up at, I believe it's a hotel, I'm not sure, but they show up at 7 a.m. and COVID is in full effect at this point. The ladies get together and they are kind of health screening them. They're asking, do you have temperatures or have you been around anybody? The questions that anybody is asked just about anywhere you go today. But they get there and everybody's getting ready and we do the whole little pre-show. Gizelle is kind of giving Wendy some advice on the reunion. She's kind of telling her, you got to make sure that you attack first, something like that. I don't remember, but I think she was kind of telling her that, you always got to be ready and you basically attack before you give the other person a chance to. And we even get a glimpse of T'Challa. Andy goes into each lady's room while they're getting ready and he just kind of chats it up with them a little bit. We also see Monique and she's getting ready and she lets us know that she has a book of receipts and that we can call her the accountant, because I guess she's going to be calling people on their crap all night. And the ladies are coming in and they're socially distanced. Everybody is kind of sitting around. I'm imagining 6 feet apart because they're all kind of widespread around the area. And we also see that Robin is the last to arrive. Of course, that's just kind of an ongoing joke amongst the ladies. Gold or yellow was definitely the theme amongst the ladies this reunion. Everybody looked pretty good to me. And I guess I can start with Ashley. We'll start with Ashley. Ashley, who is very much pregnant at this point. She had on some sort of satin looking getup and it almost had wings to me. And it was colorful underneath, but it was yellow nonetheless. And it had a really high split where her cooter mama was almost showing, but it wasn't. But she looked okay. Her hair was straight and she looked really cute, and it had almost like a I don't know if it wasn't burgundy, it was more of an auburn kind of, like she had like auburn highlights in her hair and she looked pretty cute. Gizelle, she had like a one sleeve sort of fitted dress with diamonds on the sleeved part, and her hair was straight and she looked pretty. As usual, Gizelle is a pretty woman and she probably could have gave it a little more. It almost reminded me of a sweater dress kind of, but I don't know. We see Candiace, and Candiace had her hair in a really sleek pony, a high pony, long, and was it braided or just kind of tapered? It was cute nonetheless, but I didn't like her dress. Her dress was more of an off color. It had like a whitish color top and almost like a khaki looking color bottom and a big yellow bow. I guess that's what tied her into the yellow theme. Candiace, I know she likes to take risks and she is the most risk taker of the group, but I don't really know how I felt about that. Robin had on a really pretty long sleeved fitted sort of long flowy belled at the bottom sort of dress. It was really pretty. It was a really pretty color. I think it suited her nicely. I did not like Robin's hair. Robin had a bob, an asymmetric kind of bob, but I think it would have been cute if it was just like regular blonde like she normally does. But she did like some yellow leopard print kind of crimp sort of something in it when they got close up on her hair. I didn't like that, but other than that, like she was really, really cute. And she almost came second to the best dressed, and I'll get to her last. But then we got Wendy, and Wendy looked really pretty. Wendy kind of reminded me of like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Her hair was really big and long and full, but that's what we expected from Wendy. Her dress was really pretty. I didn't really get a good view of it just yet, and I'm kind of recording as they're on commercial break, so I'll get to it in a second. But Monique, to me, was the best dressed. Monique looked really pretty. She had it was a sheer, shimmery, sort of fitted, like ball gowny kind of dress. And it was really cute. I just liked the sparkle and the shine. Her hair was all right. And I guess it needed to be sort of short. She also had an asymmetric kind of bob, and it needed to be short because her dress kind of came up a little high in the collar area. But I think that she was the best dressed for this reunion. And I think I got to all the ladies. Karen, did I get to Karen? Oh, if I didn't get to Karen, she was okay. She was cute. There wasn't really much to say about Karen's dress, so we'll go ahead and get to what they actually started talking about. They asked, well, we kind of got to look. Andy let us see kind of an evolution of the ladies from the first season up till now, and the fashions and the wigs and everything, and we all remember what they looked like in the past. I mean, everybody was just a hot mess, and you could tell they got a little more money over time, and now they're kind of coming with the fashions a little bit. They asked who they think changed the most, and Karen said Ashley, but everyone else said that Karen changed the most, and which Karen probably did, and for the better, because Karen was most certainly, she was something the first few seasons, and then she started getting her wig game up, and so she started to come, and she started looking really, really nice. And they said Gizelle changed the least, and that's probably because Gizelle's fashions have always been on the downside, and that's from day one. And Gizelle was kind of offended because most of the opinion came from Karen, and we know that her and Karen always clash and butt heads, so that's to be expected. And that's pretty much what we got in this part. So now we'll look and see what they're talking about now. All right, and then they asked Robin what she thought of Gizelle's fashions. And of course, since Gizelle and Robin are like this, they are ace boom coons, Robin was a little apprehensive to answer that question. She was like, man, why'd y'all have to put me on the spot? But she was trying to be PC and not hurt her friend. So she says that, Gizelle definitely takes risks. And the other ladies also agree that Gizelle probably could use a day with a really, really good stylist. And everybody has had something to say about Gizelle's fashions in the past. And it is just like an ongoing joke all over Twitter, all over social media. So she shouldn't be surprised about that. But they asked, the ladies, who's the best dressed, and everybody pretty much says Karen for the most part. Well, they asked Candiace, and Candiace said, other than herself, she would say Karen. And Monique just says, I'm gonna say Karen because I wouldn't say myself. I wouldn't be that vain and say myself. And so Candiace was kind of like, yeah, on camera. And so they kind of have a bit of a spat and an exchange. And you can tell that Andy was wanting to save that for later on in the reunion. So he kind of put a stop to that. But then Robin and Gizelle get going on Karen because somehow Robin says, you know, Karen is the reason that Gizelle and I have been attacked on social media. You know, people are telling me I need to jump off a bridge. People are saying that we, you know, because Karen has said that they started the fight between Monique and Candiace, and they were kind of getting on to her about what people were saying to them on social media, and people have been going in on them, and you know, people feel the way they feel. I mean, and it may not necessarily be because of what Karen said, but it could be because of what they saw. But they're convinced that Karen is the reason, because Karen, you know, she did say some things about the green-eyed, you know, monsters watching with glee or being giddy about this situation. And we have talked about that enough, and I'm sure we'll talk about it some more in this reunion. But we then visit the introduction of Wendy, the newest housewife. And we see that, you know, they talk about her accolades, as Rox likes to say. Shout out to Nene Leakes. But, you know, they talk about her accomplishments and, you know, what she represents. And we also see that, you know, she tells us that she is now like, you know, Nigerian royalty, being the first Nigerian, you know, real housewife of a franchise. And so that's a pretty big deal in their community. And she said that, you know, when she goes to the market, you know, she's pretty much like a queen there. But it is really cool to see. Ashley kind of addresses Wendy, and she lets her know that, you know, your, you know, accomplishments are definitely something to be proud of. However, it just seemed like you were using your education to put other people down. And we go back to when they were at the lake house, at Monique's lake house, and we saw the argument between Wendy and Ashley. And Wendy, you know, was like, people like you call me doctor. And so it was just like a dig at Ashley, because Ashley isn't as educated as Wendy. None of the ladies are, but they, Andy also brings up how Karen referred to Wendy as a floozy freelancer. And Karen says that, you know, I did not do that. And Wendy knows, I've told Wendy, you know, numerous times that I am proud of her and all that she has accomplished. She said, but I did not call her a floozy. She said Gizelle added that part in. And so everybody was just kind of like, what? Andy was like, whoa, that's a big add-in. And so Gizelle did admit to adding that word in. But then she tells us that she added it because Karen was trying to get Wendy kicked off the show from day one. And so, you know, everybody was just kind of like, what? And then they kind of went to commercial break. All right, so Gizelle says that Karen pulled her aside and she said that Wendy didn't fit, like she wasn't a fit for the show. So that was her reasoning. That's what Gizelle said. That was her reasoning and feeling like Karen was trying to get Wendy kicked off the show. But Wendy believes that Karen felt the way that she felt because Wendy didn't kiss her ass when she got there, kind of like the way Candiace did, or the way that Ashley did. You know how they spoke so highly of Karen and they looked up to Karen and they had such high regards. Well, Wendy came into the fold kind of confident and established and already sure, you know, in who she was. And she kind of felt like Karen felt a way about that. And we did notice that Karen was a bit shady towards Wendy in the beginning, and we could never really pinpoint why it was. But after hearing what Robin and Gizelle said, there could have been some truth to that. But we know that Karen is a spin master, and Karen says that what she said was that, you know, she couldn't get a good read on Wendy. It was hard for her to connect with Wendy. But I think she probably did say it, but Wendy kind of showed that she was there to stay. And then especially after getting in good with, you know, Gizelle, I mean, she was pretty much, you know, her place was stamped, you know, at that point. But that was what it was. They eventually make nice, Karen and Wendy. And Karen did kind of let us know, you know, that she doesn't have any beef or any problem with Wendy. And Andy even points out that the two of them are wearing the same shoes. And she apologizes again, and Wendy accepted it, and they moved on. So we kind of segue over into Candiace, and we see snippets of Candiace during this season. And it regards, you know, her song I See You, the original version and the remix, and, you know, her coming into big things, being signed, and also the realization of wanting to become a mom. And they show her dragging Ashley the previous seasons when Ashley was saying she wanted to get pregnant but was knocking back the beers and the spats between the two of them, and how she dragged Ashley and dragged her, you know, for her journey to motherhood, but she didn't necessarily agree with how Ashley was going about it. So they, you know, were beefed out about that. And we then get, like, it starts a spat between Ashley and Candiace, and they start talking about, Candiace starts talking about Ashley's husband, and they talk about this apology, how she had to beg Candiace for an apology, and Candiace was on this thing of, you know, she just wanted to forget everything and move on, but Ashley kept bringing it up, and it turned out, you know, Ashley wasn't all the way okay, and, you know, she didn't really accept the apology, as we saw in the season, that, you know, she wasn't really over it, and it boiled over all the way until the season finale. Okay, and we then get a very interesting question from a viewer, and the viewer kind of asks if he feels, hold up, oh, okay. The viewer asks if colorism played any part in, you know, social media referring to, you know, Candiace and Wendy as aggressive. And so Wendy, you know, was very interested in the answer that the ladies were going to give, because she says that since Ashley used trigger words or buzzwords such as aggressive and ferocious when referring to the confrontations between, or I guess referring to Wendy's attitude towards her in their heated discussions, that social media also picked up on those words, and her inboxes and DMs were flooded with a lot of, you know, I guess hate mail or bad messages, basically referring to her, you know, as this angry woman, this aggressive woman, and this black aggressive woman. And I guess it's hard to say, because most of the cast, they're fair-skinned women, and then you have Candiace, Wendy, and Monique sometimes is light and sometimes Monique is brown. I mean, I don't know. She just kind of fluctuates. But for the most part, the cast, they're fair-skinned, you know, women for the most part. And darker women, such as myself, are probably looked at, especially if you have a certain confidence about you and you don't mind confrontation. You are often looked at as aggressive, and just the way you look automatically carries an aggression within itself. And it really sucks. And I do know that to be true firsthand, just because of things that I face in life myself on the job. I don't do a lot of jaw jacking back and forth on social media with people, but in real life, when I approach a situation, someone else can approach the situation that may not look like me per se, but if they approach it a certain way, it's looked at as spunk, or it's looked at as spitfire, or she doesn't take anything from anybody. But if I approach that situation in the same tone or the same manner, it's automatically looked at as a form of aggression. And so I absolutely understand where Wendy came from in that sense. And Monique disagreed. Monique believes that, if that's the attitude that you displayed, then that's just kind of what it was. But I see that as coming from a place of, you don't really like Wendy right now because Wendy is not riding for you at all. So I can understand how she disagrees, because the same could be said about her, but she doesn't see it that way. And so she says it is the same as, calling people hood rats or whatever. And so Candiace said, well, you refer to yourself as hood. And we have heard Wendy a lot of times say, don't make the hood come out, or don't make me get hood, or she has referred to herself in that light. But Wendy believes that, and Robin also agreed with Wendy that words do carry a lot of weight. Their words carry a lot of weight, and they should be mindful of what they say. And I don't know if she was just agreeing with Wendy, because Monique disagreed or what it was. But anyway, because her words probably have carried, because they were also calling Wendy aggressive at the lake house. Were they not? If I'm mistaken, let me know. But I thought that she was on the aggression train as well. But anyway, Candiace admitted that, Wendy's solution, to this matter was, how about you use substitute words? Just like we're not supposed to tell our sons, you're being a bad boy. You should use substitute words like, your actions were not nice, or your actions weren't, good, or whatever. And so because of that, she thinks that the ladies should practice that as well, just to kind of keep, the outside heat from social media and other platforms from coming down on them when they all have these disagreements. But Candiace admits that she has a way with words, and Andy believes that life will become much easier for Candiace if she kind of let off Twitter a little bit. I follow Candiace on Twitter, and Candiace she is I don't know, that she's a beast when it comes to clapbacks and words, and she will cut you like the sharpest knife if she feels. And she says she only does it in retaliation. If somebody says something about her, she is gonna verbally defend herself. And so she's forced to also reveal, that she's getting her MBA, and that she and Chris bought a house, because Andy just kept bringing it up, even though she said that she was going to wait for Chris to come out to talk about the house. But Andy just was determined to make her spill the beans without him. So she did tell us that they bought a house, and her mom didn't help. All her mom contributed was a rubber plant. And so everybody was just kind of, Monique was just kind of like looking like, whatever. But anyway, they then take a little quick commercial break, or cut to commercial break, but not really, because we see, the chitter chatter amongst everybody. Everybody else was kind of on their phones, but we had Monique and Ashley, who were sitting closest to the corner, and they're kind of talking, and Monique is just saying, how Candiace isn't taking any accountability, and basically how she knows enough stuff that's in that binder to put everybody up there on blast. And she was just telling her, they don't want me to go in that folder. And so I guess eventually we'll get to see what's in the folder. Okay, so Andy brings up Gizelle and her reunion with Pastor Jamal Bryant. And Karen and Gizelle start arguing somehow, in that they start arguing about Gizelle's house decor. And Gizelle says that her business, Every Hue, or her product, her foundation line that she had, it did get shut down due to COVID, but Karen is not letting up off of her. She says that it was a manufacturer, the manufacturer had to shut down, so therefore she couldn't produce products, so it's kind of halted. But Karen says that she, that it was liquidated, that it basically went out of business, but Gizelle didn't confirm nor deny that. They just both kept trying to talk over one another. And Karen also, she's not letting up off of Gizelle whatsoever. And a lot of that has to do with Gizelle sort of being so vocal and having so much to say about the La Dame fragrance that Karen had when she first introduced it to us. Was it last season? They didn't believe that it was a real thing, which it is very much a real thing. It's sold in retailers all over the country, and we saw that Karen also featured it on HSN, which was a really big deal. And now she has her wig, her line of wigs through the wig company. Was it RPG Wigs or RMG something? I'm not sure. Don't quote me on the wig company. But anyway, Andy asked the ladies, if they've seen a change in Gizelle since being back with Pastor Bryant. And Karen wanted to know whether or not she really is with Pastor Bryant or not, because word on the curb was that he did, agree to be with Gizelle to help save Gizelle's job, to give her a storyline. But he really is in Atlanta, laying it low and spreading it wide, because he does have, a baby on the way and has been making babies since they have supposedly been back together. So Karen said that what Daddy was saying at the restaurant that time was true with the hot mic, that Jamal is, out there wilding out. But Gizelle says that none of that is true, that the two of them are together, that the girls now accept them being together. I don't know if we'll ever really see Jamal on the show as far as interaction with the other castmates. We've seen him a couple times, but it's just been strictly with him and Gizelle, or him, Gizelle, and the girls. I don't think he wants anything to do with the cast, because they don't want those questions that will be asked, and primarily asked by Karen, because everyone else is probably skeptical, but Karen is the one who isn't afraid to ask the questions. Whew. I just watched the last segment, y'all. Now, Gizelle says that her dad was exaggerating about the 6 or 7 baby mamas or whatever. Monique says that Jamal's girlfriend, or one of his girlfriends, reached out to her and says that, Jamal was just there for reality TV. She said that the woman was also a pastor, and that she sent Monique proof of what was going on. Gizelle automatically, kind of shut down and said that she didn't want any parts of this discussion. And Robin, was wanting to know what Monique's motive was behind doing this, as if they don't know, as if there wasn't, this swirling rumor at the beginning of the season that Monique supposedly had an affair with the trainer, and that her youngest son, what was his name, Chase, I believe, wasn't Chris's. And they know that was what she was, that's her motive behind doing this. And Monique you know, she started spouting off the phone number, and Gizelle did confirm that yes, that is Jamal's phone number. Monique said that, you know, Gizelle basically tried to come for her and her family. You know, she tried to cause strife between them, and, you know, she kept referring to her husband Chris as big boy and all this other stuff, you know, and so Monique did take offense to that. And so Monique, you know, at first said she wasn't going to drop these receipts, but Gizelle, I guess after looking back on the season and Gizelle's actions towards her, basically trying to get her kicked off this show, she was just basically coming with that fire. And that is pretty much where this episode ended. I'm guessing we'll get part 2 next week. If I forgot anything, like always, make sure that you leave it down in the comments below. I just think kind of recording this reunion this way is a little easier. It'll help me get it up a little faster so that I can move on to another video. I'm gonna do Housewives of Atlanta. I'll do that next. I kind of did them backwards, but anyway, make sure that you like this video, and as always, subscribe to my channel, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch if you have made it this far, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.